Hey everybody, my name is Paul Abernathy and welcome back to Electrical Code Academy, where we talk about the National Electrical Code and we try to teach you the important aspects of the NEC that you can really use in a day in and day out basis. Now, let me talk to you about something. If you're trying to learn the National Electrical Code and you find it hard, we make it easy. Our Fast Tracks program is the most comprehensive program you're going to get on learning the National Electrical Code, but if you're preparing for an electrical exam, we teach you what you need to know to be successful in an exam. But maybe you need more than that. Maybe you want to deep dive now. Now that you've kind of gotten your license, maybe you've used our program, our Fast Tracks Black or our Plus, which is available right there at fasttracksystem.com to get your license, or maybe to learn the NEC at a very high level. But now maybe you want to deep dive. You're a residential guy and you want to create this learning curve reduction. Means you want to learn everything you can learn room by room by room by room. We've got programs for you. We got the Fast Tracks Red, which is our residential wiring program. We deep dive into all the residential code when it comes to electrical. We have the Fast Tracks Green, which is commercial wiring, all of those things with motors and transformers. We have the industrial course, which is the Fast Tracks Blue. If you're into industrial wiring and all that type of stuff. We've got grounding and bonding courses. Everybody needs to take a grounding and bonding course, a good grounding. In fact, your employer should pay for that because the majority of the things that people do wrong are associated with grounding and bonding. Now, who am I to tell you all this? Well, again, my name is Paul Abernathy. I'm the creator of the Fast Track system. I have been doing this for over 30-some years. If you go to the front of this code book, you'll see my name in Code Panel 5 and Code Panel 17. So I'm not a fly-by-night YouTuber. I've been doing this for many years. And long before people knew what podcasts and video streaming was, I was doing it and I was loading it upline on AOL. You remember AOL? And I would upload it in a repository and I was sharing with people around the country. And then as we grew, we were able to create websites and expand it. So we were probably one of the first ever doing it online. And so I have taught over 50,000 students, both in classroom, online, and again, probably way more than that if you think about all the people that are taking my courses. And I love living vicariously through all of my students. If you want to really start to learn the NEC, whether you're already licensed or you're trying to get your license, go watch some of the demos on our website, fasttracksystem.com. You're going to be amazed. And if you want some of our great videos, go check out fasttrackstube.com or fasttrackstv.com if you want. And there you're going to get a lot of videos, not just by me, but by other educators in the industry that we have ferreted out and made sure that they are very valid and they're educational and they're not just a sales piece. They're really trying to teach you something in the National Electrical Code. Then you might want to subscribe to our Fast Tracks Tube. Now, if you want a discount code, I'll give you one. Just go and check out at fasttrackstube.com. That's for our annual membership to our video platform. Use the checkout code 25OFF, and that's OFF, all caps, 25OFF. And you'll get $25 off your annual subscription. That's a way to support us, and that's the way we recommend. And you'll get access to a lot of video series that we have out there, our grounding and bonding series. I also did a secondary conductor and branch circuit conductor webinar. It's available there as well. Plus our swimming pool, spas, and hot tub series is all there as well. So check that out. It's all included in the Fast Tracks Tube. Okay, so there's many ways that you can learn from us. Okay, enough of the sales pitch, right? Let's go on and get into it. So this is a continuation video. We're going to be talking now about receptacle placements. We have another video on that, so make sure you check that out for kitchens. But now we're going to be talking about peninsular and island receptacle placement. Now, this is very specific to the 2020 edition of the National Electrical Code because in 2023, this all changes. So again, if you're studying for the 2020, then this is the right place for you to be. So let's go on and get into this. All right, so if you're in our Fast Tracks program, you'll recognize this. We're in Unit 7. This is 1E, and it's peninsular and island receptacle placement. Now, in kitchens, pantries, breakfast rooms, dining rooms, and similar areas of dwelling units, receptacle outlets for countertops and work surfaces that are 12 inches wide or 12 inches or wider okay, shall be installed in accordance with 210.52C1 through C3. It means you have to have a receptacle. So if you're in the kitchen or breakfast room or dining room and you have a countertop surface, okay, if it's at least 12 inches or wider, then it has to have a receptacle. Of course, the small appliance branch circuits, minimum of 2, are going to be what supply these receptacles in this kitchen, pantry, breakfast room, dining room, or similar area. Like a similar area would be like a nook inside of a kitchen area. Okay, so that's what you're going to have. So we're going to be talking about the receptacle placement now, and shall not be considered as receptacle outlets required by 210.52A2. What does that mean? That means that these receptacles are to serve the counter. They're not to serve the rest of the wall space that's in those rooms. Okay, like you're in your kitchen, you have normal wall space, and then you have the space that your counter's connected to. Well, that wall space, that also requires receptacles, and you would space those in accordance with the 6-foot, 12-foot rule, and we covered that in another video. So again, go watch that video if you want to know what 210.52A is about when we say 6-foot, 12-foot rule. But remember, receptacles for the countertop are different than the receptacle requirements for the wall around the room. Okay? Now, for islands and peninsular countertops and work surfaces, receptacle outlets shall be installed in accordance with 210.52C2A and C2B. Okay? So those are the ones that you need to key in on right here, right there, when it comes to islands and peninsulas. Now, as I always say, when you see code references, more importantly, when you see the things that are in the chevrons, you want to make sure that you go to your code book and you read it every time. Anytime you see a chevron in our course or in my videos, go ahead and pause the video. Go read it and then come back and things will start to make more sense to you. And that's why we do it. That's why we have the chevrons. All right, so let's go down and look here. At least one receptacle shall be provided. Okay, so we're talking. So this is whether it's an island or a peninsula. Okay, this is what we're talking about. We have to have, what is the rules to determine how many receptacles we need? All right, so let's start looking at the math here. You have to have at least one receptacle shall be installed for the first 9 square feet. The first 9 square feet or fraction thereof. And what's a fraction thereof of 9 square feet? 8 square feet, 7 square feet, 6 square feet, 5 square feet, 4 square feet. All of those are fraction thereofs of the first 9 square feet. Okay, so you have to have at least one. Right? Then it goes on to say, a receptacle outlet shall be provided for every additional 18 square feet or fraction thereof of the countertop or work surface. So that's covered in 210.52C2A. Okay. So again, we're going to look at all that and we'll kind of break it down. I'll show you an illustration and this will start to make sense. Trust me, it will make sense. And we'll do the math. Now, when it comes to a peninsula, so that rule still applies, whether it's an island or a peninsula. But when the peninsula is particularly involved, it says at least one receptacle outlet shall be located within 2 feet of the outside edge of the peninsular countertop or work surface. Additional required receptacles outlets shall be permitted to be located as determined by the installer, designer, or the building owner. That's so important. So the first one, the first 9 square feet, the first one has to be within 2 feet of the outside edge of the peninsula. Now, if it's bigger and it has the next 18 square feet, then you can put that anywhere you want as the installer, the owner, wherever they want. But I have to have at least one within 18 inches, within 2 feet of the outside edge of that peninsula countertop surface. Okay? We're going to see what that is all about. We'll look at an illustration. Okay? So that's the rule. So islands are simple. Peninsula, the only thing that takes that to the next level is the fact that you have to have it within what? Within 2 feet of the outside edge of the peninsula countertop. All right, so let's look at it. Here we go. A A is referring down here, so we'll look at A. So here's our layout. Here's A. And this right here, as you see this sticks out right here, this is your peninsula. Okay? And the easiest way to remember a peninsula is that it is only open on 3 sides. One side is a abutting wall. Okay? Whereas the island is exactly how it sounds. It's island. It sits out in the middle, and none of the walls are in contact. None of the sides of the countertop are in contact with any wall. All right? So let's see here. We're talking about A right here, pointing right here. So here's what it says. It says a peninsular countertop shall be measured from the connected perpendicular wall. Okay, so that's how we're going to measure it. So let's see here. So here's the wall, and it's perpendicular, okay, running in opposite direction. It's perpendicular of the peninsula. So this way, the peninsula is running this way. Okay, you see my mouse? It's running this way, but the wall is running this way, perpendicular. So the measurement is from that wall out. That's how you do the measurement, okay? And then, of course, that's the way you measure out, right? And then, of course, you've got the depth of the countertop you have to take into consideration when you're determining what? The square footage. All right, so let's look at this. So that's where the measurement starts. B. And what is B? All right, B is right here, talking about the peninsula. Starting the calculation. Calculate the square footage area of the peninsula countertop. All right, so let's look at it this way. Let's look here. So this measurement here says it's 120 inches. So 120 inches. All right, so 120 inches, all right, is 10 feet. So that's where we got the 10 foot right here. All right, I'm going to blow this up so you can see it. So that's the 10 foot. And the width of it was what? Right here, this measurement, 48 inches. So it comes out 10 feet, and the width of it is 48 inches. So this far, 10 feet, depth 48, okay? So we're going to do the math. It is going to be what? 120 divided by 12 is 10 foot, okay? So 48 inches is 48 divided by 12 is 4 foot. So it's 10 times 4. And that is 40 square feet. So how's that going to work? So if the square footage for this peninsula right here equates to 40 square feet. Remember, first 9 square feet requires 1, and that has to be located where? Within 2 feet of the end, okay, and that's why that's there. And then the other one can be placed anywhere you want, okay? So let's look at this. So 40 square feet is what we calculated. The minimum required receptacles, all right? 1 receptacle is required for the first 9 square feet, so we take the 40, and we take 9 from it, that's going to be the 1, and that leaves me 31. All right, so we got the 1, so now the remainder is 31. And remember, it said every additional 18 square feet and fraction thereof. Okay, so then the 31, you divide it by 18. So in that case, we'll take the 31, and we're going to divide that by 18, and that is 1.72. Well, you can't have a 0.72, so that's going to be 2, all right? So the total number of receptacle, or I shouldn't say receptacles, the total number of outlets, that's important, outlets. Receptacles go in the outlet. The outlet, this is an outlet rule. The total number of outlets that we're required to have is what? Overall, we're going to have 3, all right? Okay. Now, with that scenario right here, the first one is right here. It's within 2 feet. And then the other ones can be wherever you want them to be. Now, incidentally, these receptacles that you see on this wall, they might be here because of the normal wall spacing requirement. Well, they can serve double duty. If they're here and they're in the footprint of this peninsula, okay, then guess what? They can serve also as the other receptacles for this peninsula. And they are serving double duty. They're serving the wall spacing And they're also serving, they're in the footprint of the peninsula, so they're also the other two that are serving the peninsula, and you've got more than enough receptacles for this peninsula. Make sense? So that's how you apply that. So let's keep on getting it here. And so next we'll go and do, let's do the island now. Makes sense? All right, let's do the island. So this island is 48 inches by 30 inches. Okay, so we need to find out what we're dealing in feet. So 48 divided by 12, okay, is 4. And then since this is 30 inches, 38 divided by 12, I should do this so you can see it. 38 divided by 12 is 2.5. Excuse me, 30 divided by 12. So 30 divided by 12 is 2.5 feet, square feet, right? So what do? You take the 4 square feet and you multiply that by 2.5 square feet is what? Let me do it. 4 times 2.5 equals 10. Okay, got your calculator. Work it out. Just because it's on the screen, don't take that for granted. Work it out. So now that we know that it's 10 square feet, we know that the first 9 square feet requires at least 1. And then the next 18 or fraction thereof. Well, if I take the 10 minus the 9, that leaves me with a remainder of 1 square foot. But that is a fraction of the next 18. So that means we need how many receptacle outlets? 2. Okay. So the additional receptacle outlet is required for the remaining 1 square foot. So you need 2 overall. Now, on this island, since it's flat across the entire surface, you are permitted to either put it in the island. You can pop it up. Again, you remember, it could pop up above it, okay? But it also can be below the countertop as long as, again, it's not more than 12 inches below, and it's not under an inner overhang that is more than 6 inches from the base. If it isn't, then we can put it down on the side, okay? And that's what it tells us right here, okay? The location of the 2 required island countertop receptacle outlets has been determined by the building owner. Put them anywhere they want on this island. There is no rule about being within 24 inches of this in it. It's wherever they want to put them in here. Again, sometimes these are really fancy islands, so you have to be very careful where the placement's going to be, that type of thing, right? But one of the things that we're going to take a look at real quick, and I'll finish this part on the G right here, and then we'll kind of go look at the code. G being, let's see here, G is right here. Notice that this one's for the wall, all right? Check this out. Another reminder, this receptacle has not been installed to serve the countertop surface. It is installed to meet the wall spacing requirements in 210.52a. It has nothing to do with the countertop. But since that receptacle is within 6 feet of the top inside edge of the bowl of the sink, guess what? It may be the living room, but it's required to be GFCI protected. And remember, the measurement is from the top inside edge straight as if it was a cord plugging in. Okay, so across the countertop and then at an angle straight down to the receptacle. If that is within 6 feet, then this receptacle would have to be GFCI protected, even though it's not serving the countertop. It's serving the wall space. So important to remember those things, folks. Really is important. Okay. All right. So let's go into the code real quick, and so we can kind of look at this for the Peninsula and kind of get a feel on what it kind of looks like, and to quantify why you keep hearing me talk about receptacle outlet or the outlet reference. So let's go to the code. All right, so here we are in the code. I'm going to go to 210.52c. So I'm going the wrong way. 210.52 right here. Here's 52. And I'm going to go down to C. Here you go. We're at C, and then I'm going to get down when we're talking about right here. Islands and peninsular countertops. Notice this is all grayed out. So this is where you get all your language. The first one, again, this applies to both islands and peninsulas. And then this one down here is specific to peninsulas, okay? And gives you all that information. Now, the receptacle placements, this is right here. This is called receptacle outlet location. Again, you saw it before. It can be on or above the countertop, okay, but not more than 20 inches. Right here, it says in the countertop or work surface, receptacle outlet assembly listed for use in the countertop. That's those pop-up style. It can pop up out of the countertop. They take up, in an island, they would take up drawer space, so typically not what we would use, but you could. And then, of course, the third one right here is the one that allows it to be below the surface. And that's what you're going to have on an island. You're going to have to go below the surface, right? Okay, so that's what it talks about here. Ironically enough, that's where that comes from. And so when you go back to the code, oh, wait a minute. I wanted to point out, I've got to point something out. I'm sorry. Notice right here, it says receptacle outlet. Okay, here, notice it says receptacle outlet. Why is that significant? Because the course talks about receptacles because that's what you're going to put in there. That's common sense. But I want to teach you something today. The receptacle outlet is the box, not the device. The box. Okay? Important. A 2-gang box is 2 receptacle outlets because you could put 2 devices in it. Important distinction. This rule is talking about the receptacle outlet. The receptacle is a device. The outlet is the box to which the receptacle, the device, will be installed. So when you see us talk about receptacles, it's because we know what you're actually going to put in there. So it's trying to simplify it for you, but I like to do that. And this is what I do when I do my one-on-ones with you, or when you come to my Wednesday night sessions. I show all these little nuances, right? Why is that? Why would I say that? Because basically, if I had this Peninsula right here, let's come back real quick. And this is why I do this. If I had this Peninsula right here, could I put a simplex receptacle, a single receptacle in there and still be compliant? Absolutely. Because it's all about the receptacle outlet box, not the device that I'm putting into it. Duplex, fine. Simplex, fine. Okay? Probably going to always put a duplex in there, but kind of, you get why I make that distinction. So in our course, we try to make it simple. It's, you know, a receptacle is going to go in there. But this is the kind of things that I talk about on my Wednesday nights because I like to get deep and I like to help you learn things that other people maybe just don't know. And that's why you get into a program like ours, structured program. Now let's talk about that mounting because again, I want to make sure that I hammer this home. Receptacle mounting below the countertop. Why am I hammering this home? Because in the 2023 code, this is not going to work. This is purely 2020, so pay attention. The receptacles installed more than 20 inches above the countertop or work surface, such as an overhead cabinet, are permitted, but they're not going to meet the requirements for the countertop receptacles. We've said that over and over and over again. So if I put a receptacle in a cabinet that's above a countertop, I can do that, but it's not going to meet my spacing requirement. My spacing requirement, those receptacles have to be within 20 inches, right? Okay. Let's talk about this one right here. So here you go. Here's a little island for you. Receptacles. Receptacles installed face up in work surfaces or countertops are not allowed unless the receptacle outlet assembly is listed for countertop or work surface applications. Okay, so it's got to be specifically listed for that application. Other than that, you are not going to have a receptacle in a face up position on a countertop, flat out. Okay. And where does that give you that? It tells you this in 210.52C32 as well as in 406.5E. Okay, it gives you that direction about that. So let's go on and look at it real quick. 210.52 C32. So let's just go there. Because I'm like you, I love going into the code and learning. So let's go into the code, 210.52, and we're going to go to C32 right here. Okay, so in a countertop, receptacle outlet assembly is listed for use in the countertops. shall be installed in counter. Okay. Now, we can have them in there. They're permitted, but these are assemblies that pop up. It's not necessarily face-up application. All right. And then what is 4006.5e? Let's go look at that. Let's see here. Well, we're going down into 406. I'm going to keep scrolling. There we go. 406.5e. Let's go look at this. Went too far. Right here. Receptacles in countertops. What does it say? Receptacle assemblies for installation in countertop surfaces shall be listed for countertop applications. Remember what I said earlier is that I can't use those pop-ups that have a cord and plug on it. That's more like a relocatable power tap. They have to be hardwired, and they're going to be listed for this. Okay. Now, it says where the receptacle assemblies for countertop applications are required to provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection for personnel in accordance with 210.8, such assemblies shall be permitted to be listed as GFCI receptacle assemblies for countertop applications. Okay? So, can I have them in it? Absolutely. But what about that face-up application? Okay? I can have them in it, but check this right here. Position of receptacle face, right? So again, it talks about all this type of stuff. And, so let's see here. Now that's face up. That's something else. We don't want to talk about that. That's another episode. I was going to go there, but we don't want to go there. Just keep it. So if you're going to do, there is no, you do not install them face up unless, of course, they happen to be listed for that. And I don't know of any that are listed for face up. Okay. Now I know some that pop up. I know some that come up like that. But again, none that are actually going to be face up like that. Now we have floor receptacle ones that are face up. That's perfectly fine. Also know that under a counter, you can't have a receptacle face up under a counter. Inside a counter where you would have the plumbing under the sink, you can't have it face up either in the 2020 code. All right, where was I at here? Let's go back to the code real quick. All over the place. All right, B right here. So this is a receptacle. This is flat across the top. So the code allows me to go below the surface. All right, this says GFCI protection is required for all receptacles installed to serve the kitchen countertop surface. So yeah, even though it's an island, if it's installed and it's to serve the countertop, even if it's below the countertop, which the code allows us to do, still got to be GFCI. Makes sense, right? All right, what about C right here? Although receptacles located more than 12 inches below the countertop or work surface are permitted, so yeah, I could have one down lower, but they're not going to meet the requirement to serve the countertop because they can't be more than 12 inches and they can't be under an overhang that is what? More than 6 inches. Okay? So extends more than 6 inches and I couldn't put the receptacle under here. At least the one to serve the countertop, I couldn't. Could I put one down here? Maybe this is dividing the living room from the kitchen. Well, then you got to be really careful because if this receptacle here is to serve this island, an inspector could consider this a room divider, and it could require a receptacle on this side to serve the living room. And if that's the case, it can't be on that small appliance branch circuit, so it would have another receptacle down here if that inspector considered that to be a wall space. Now, when would an inspector maybe consider this to be a wall space? So let me give you some little inside help here. If your island is made of cabinets, and the countertop just sits on a cabinet, then it is not wall space, okay? If it actually is a wall that's built and they kind of frame up a 2x4 wall and then they push cabinets against it, then this is wall space. And it could be subject to normal 210.52a receptacles. And of course, you'll be putting in a receptacle to serve the countertop, okay? So you might have two here. But remember, this receptacle to serve the countertop cannot serve the wall space, okay? So the construction of the island can make a big difference, okay? So if it's just cabinets there with the top on it, it is not a wall, and I would not consider it wall space. But if it's a framed up wall and you're pushing cabinets to it and you're putting a counter on it with an overhang, and so basically if you go into construction and you notice they frame it up, my house was like that, it was framed up, then that's a wall. And if that wall is facing the living room, that's wall space. If it's even in the kitchen, if it's 2 feet or more, it's wall space, okay? And if it's in the kitchen, then it could be on the small appliance band circuit. See how the code, you got to know these things, and we cover it in our course. So if that sounded confusing to you, or I didn't explain it to the point where you're like, I don't get it, we cover that in our course. We can answer those questions on Wednesday nights. That's why you want to check out my website and get in our program. Now, they could have put it here on the side. If this overhang was more than 6 inches, then you just stick it over here on the side. But every part of this receptacle can't be more than 12 inches below the countertop surface, okay? So here you go. Now again, this receptacle, we'll talk about D right here. Here's the overhang. Receptacles mounted in the cabinet are permitted under the overhang of a countertop or work surface, but are not counted as required countertop receptacle where the countertop or work surface extends more than 6 inches beyond its support base. Okay, so this is the support base, and this is the edge of the countertop. If this measurement right here is more than 6 inches, then I could not put a receptacle under here to serve the countertop. But that does not mean that I could not have a wall space receptacle. That would be okay as well if that was a wall. Okay. Okay. Just kind of wanted to throw all those things out there. Now, here you go. The Peninsula counter side without doors or drawers might be considered wall space by the authority having jurisdiction. If so, and if longer than 6 feet, a receptacle is required. But I'm going to be honest with you. If they consider it wall space and it's at least 2 feet, they're going to make you put a receptacle. So again, work with your AHJ, and I'm just giving you some insight. This right here, I would argue, is not a wall space if it's simply sitting on 2 cabinets. If it's a framed up wall, chances are they're going to argue that that is wall space, folks. So just little things that you learn. Okay, that's it, folks. So I've kind of covered the spacing. It's taken us multiple videos, but we've covered all of the spacing requirements for bedrooms, living rooms. That's a different video. We covered the kitchen receptacle layouts. That's another video. And in this one, we covered peninsula and island layouts and how to calculate them out. Covered quite a bit. Hopefully you got something out of that. Remember, if you really want to learn the National Electrical Code, do me a favor. At least go check out the website. We've got a lot of blogs. I've got page after page of blogs with really good content for calculations. They're all free. At least do me a favor, check them out, right? We have some free courses on there that you can check out. But if you really want to get into a program to learn the National Electrical Code, maybe it's pre-licensing, you're trying to pass an exam, go to our website and look at our Fast Tracks Black or our Fast Tracks Plus. Now, what's the Plus? It's the same as the Black program. You'll get all of the good information. You'll get to come to Wednesday nights. But the Plus means you get access to special videos over on fasttrackstube.com. Okay, that's an annual subscription. But if you become a member of the Plus, you get access to it for an entire year as part of your package. Okay. Now, if you're already licensed and you're like, well, look, guy, I'm already a journeyman or I'm a master and I do nothing but residential. Hey, why don't you deep dive and become that superstar when it comes to residential? Well, how do you do that? You get in our Fast Tracks Red program. It deep dives into every room within a dwelling, services, grounding, all the things that you need to know with residential wiring. That program covers it. What about commercial buildings? We cover that in the green program. Maybe you're in the industrial sector. We cover that in the blue program. Maybe you want to learn about grounding and bonding. We've got a purple program. Grounding and bonding is one of the best courses you're ever going to have. You really will learn it. And of course, you still get access to Wednesday nights if you want to come and ask any question that may confuse you. I'm here for you, folks. So hopefully you get something out of it. Go check out Fast Tracks Tube. Check out fasttracksystem.com. Watch the demos on some of our courses. And if you have any questions, all you got to do is go to the Contact Us button on the website, and you can send us any question, and we'll be more than happy to answer that for you. All right, folks. God bless. Until next time, stay safe. We'll catch you in the next video.